I started playing this game 4 years ago, so I don't necessarily remember the beginning of the game, the first 11 chapters, to be honest, first 12 chapters. So I may be off base, but we'll get to that. I'll get to that when it's relevant. Um, all in all, before I break things down into categories, I think it was a pretty decent game for the time. It came out in 2016, and it's still a decent game. It's not the worst game I've ever played. There's certainly a huge list of games that suck worse than Uncharted 4. So I'm not saying that at all. Um, like all Naughty Dog games, I have to give it credit. Absolutely. I mean, the production values are just top notch. They're always incredible on Naughty Dog games. Well, I want to say always. I without going into too much detail, Last of Us 2 is an exception to that. At least altogether as a whole game, it has some exceptions to that. And I mentioned that in a previous video. There are several areas in this game, Uncharted 4, that look better than Last of Us. When the game's, Uncharted is 6 years older than Last of Us 2, so it doesn't make any sense being the same engine. But that's not the point here. So the production values are incredible. The voice acting, the motion capture, whether it's the stunts or the lip syncing or just the subtle little movements, like that one scene where Elena winks after she says whatever, near the end of the game, or like Sam's facial expressions sometimes, or even the Rafe or Nadine, their facial expressions.
Pretty badass shot there.
Like the standard that the rest of the industry should really be judging. At least when you're talking about AAA games that cost tons of money to produce. That's what these games should be really striving for.
But they don't get it.
So even like the stunt work, the movement, whether you're climbing up a cliff or you're swinging on a rope or whatever, the animations have always been top notch on the Uncharted games. And
Those kids anymore.
The graphical upgrade with PlayStation 4 obviously hasn't changed that. They still look great. The fight scenes, like the various different cutscenes and even the interactive cutscenes where you're fighting and you actually have to press buttons, those all look great. Both in combat and in like cutscenes or QTEs. Those all look fantastic. The graphics are... It's not often that I would ever compliment a console exclusive game, at least for now, until it finally comes out on PC, if they ever give it a damn release date, that I would ever give a console exclusive game praise for its graphics. And pretty much every single one of those times has been or will be a Naughty Dog game, or like Killzone. Those looks pretty. Killzone 2 and 3 specifically, those looked pretty good. I wouldn't say that about Ghost of Tsushima. It really, like, the environments look good, but I wouldn't put it anywhere near the same level as this game, or Lost Legacy, or Last of Us. But the graphics they're excellent. I mean, like, I don't really know what more to say. Like I said in a previous video in the playthrough, they're not super realistic. I mean, they're all pastel colored, but they're detailed enough that everything looks good, yet generic enough that they can build these huge environments and stuff like you can see here just on the main menu screen, like the individual leaves on the vines or whatever you want to call that vegetation. It looks fucking awesome from a distance. I'm sure if you zoomed in, even at 4K, it probably wouldn't look that great. But that's what I'm saying is the engine allows them to put enough decent looking um, enough decent looking assets on screen at once that it produces an overall picture that looks incredible. And I mean, there's various scenes. Most of them are on the island, which is like half the game. You know, chapter 12, like all the way to 22. Um, there's plenty of these vista shots that just look fucking incredible. But again, like it's not just the panoramics, the landscapes. Everything looks cool, even up close while you're playing. The architecture, especially in Libertalia and New, what's it called? New Devon, all looks fucking sweet. And I think gamers are used to that architecture, like what it should look like by now, because it's in at least like 2 or 3 or 4 Assassin's Creed games, plus probably no, I'm sorry. What's it called? The Order probably has similar looking environments at least at some point. You know, like 18th, 17th century British bullshit, or European architecture. So that all looks really cool. Even the details of the architecture look really good. The shading, especially when it goes into the pre-rendered cutscenes, those look great, and then it like seamlessly fades back into the normal rendering, and you can obviously tell the difference, but it's like so smooth and it looks so good that it just doesn't even matter. Like it's an excellent graphical presentation. The sound, I don't really have a lot to say about the sound design other than that it's great. Like I said, the production values just altogether are like through the roof. It maintains the same sounds as all of the previous Uncharted games, from what I remember. Whether it's the L3, take a look at this sound, or the China Lake, or whatever it is. All that said, uh, I can't say anything that positive about the gameplay. I have positive things to say, but it's not all good news. Like I said before, the movement for platforming is pretty intuitive. There's never a point where you're struggling very long for more than a few seconds to figure out what you're supposed to do. There are very annoying and frequent circumstances where, like, what you're supposed to do. Like, you're clearly supposed to jump to the right to another handhold, and no matter what you do on the joystick, for some reason it just won't work. Like Nathan just will not lean in the right direction, or like you literally can't jump, or whatever the stupid issue is. It's happening, and it shouldn't be. I do like the addition of the piton and the grappling hook. I mean, those are both additions from Tomb Raider 2013. Like I said previously, those were both mechanics that the game definitely could have used. And I think in hindsight that Square Enix knew that, obviously, when they did the Tomb Raider reboots, because at that point Uncharted 3 had already come out. Well, it came out a year before the new Tomb Raider came out. That said, obviously the new Tomb Raider was in production for a couple, probably like 4 or 5 years before that. I personally, I used to work in a market research firm at that time, and we did one round of focus groups for the new Tomb Raider. This was in 2011, perhaps 2012. I think early 2012, and it was a very early version of the game. But regardless, that's not important. So I think they had the benefit of hindsight, seeing what mechanics they could add to this genre that weren't there before, which is also actually not true. I'm sorry, I take that back, because Tomb Raider Underworld had a grappling hook in it, and that was like 2008. So actually, like, all the innovations in this genre came from Tomb Raider, which is interesting because Tomb Raider Underworld sucked. Even so, even with the issues with the platforming, I mean, but still, none of them were really like the platforming itself so much as just dumb little problems that would occur here and there. Compared to the previous games, the puzzles were laughable, or if even noteworthy at all. That was one of my major criticisms of the previous games, like Uncharted 1, is that you literally carried around a notebook that just told you the solutions to the puzzles, and it was stupid. This game didn't really have that many puzzles in it. I remember maybe like 10. There was the collapsing floor, three rooms of the floorboards. Only 2 of them you had to actually do anything in to survive.
Okay, we're off to a good
There
start.
was the
Follow
light
my lead,
puzzle
okay?
to
I'm all
get the statue of what's his face to pop up, and there was like a puzzle in Scotland and a couple of other puzzles before that.
not a
So
lot of experience
it looks
with
like
the
they
box.
cut down on the puzzles, or at least
Made
cut down on how annoying they are. So here's where I have to say that I hate the gameplay. Above all else, the worst parts of this game are the parts where it's kind of channeled Uncharted 1. If you've played the previous Uncharted games, you cannot say with a straight face that Uncharted 1 wasn't like bullshit compared to the second two. Because Uncharted 1 was ridiculous. The enemies all murdered the shit out of you with no mercy. It would spam like hundreds of them at all times. You got hit like once, even on normal, and you were dead, basically. And I have it on video. I'm not making that shit up. I mean, you can watch. I have the original game on video, I'm pretty sure. I have a playlist where I just stopped playing it because I got tired of it. Well, I mean, like, one of the good things, I guess, as far as advancements go, they took the environment destruction from Uncharted 1. If you remember the boss at the end of the first game, he had this ridiculous, like, mega space shotgun that never needed to be reloaded, and it would literally destroy metal. During that boss fight, there were like metal boxes, metal crates everywhere that you could take cover behind, and if he shot them enough with his shotgun, they just fucking disintegrated. So it looks like they added that mechanic into this. All those parts where you're taking cover behind wood in the like ship graveyard level, chapter 20, I think, and they just start destroying the cover. Like, that's cool, I guess. That's an advancement, but it's also annoying. But more to the point, they just took the worst parts of Uncharted 1, where they just constantly throw enemies at you, and on top of that, like half of them have special, gold colored guns that can one hit you. Then to make it even worse, they literally spawn at random wherever the fuck they want. There's several instances in my playlist where you can see like dudes were straight up just spawning on top of me just because I had the camera facing a different angle. And some of the examples, the camera was facing them, and they just appeared out of fucking nowhere. Like it was Ninja Turtles in Time. Like they just gooped up from the floor, like a fucking fight scene from Power Rangers, where that dude, crafts them out of putty, and they just fucking pop out of the ground. Like that happened countless times during my game. That was incredibly infuriating, and that's just dog shit. It's pure dog shit. That's a negative 10 out of 10 for game design as far as that goes. That one aspect, I will not say anything positive about that because it's 2022. This game was released in 2016. That's unacceptable, dude. That's fucking terrible game design. I mean, the rest of the combat, the only other complaint I really have about it is that, and it has nothing to do with the game, I'm sure. It's just the fact that console controls are terrible. Like you can see it in the videos. I had to turn on lock-on targeting to stop dying every 5 seconds because, like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fact that I'm running it through a pass-through, which I doubt, or that I'm just using a normal PS4, but it's just the controls are incompetent. Like, the amount of dudes you have to kill and the amount of effort it takes to kill each one by manually aiming with the joystick is just gonna die. I'm gonna die for this fucking dude at all. So I don't know how they really intended you to play the game. But if that's how, then it's not fun. So that brings me to the final thing about the gameplay. I don't care about any other QTE in the entire other 99% of the game, assuming there even was one. I don't really remember. But that fight at the end with Rafe, that was the most absolute fucking dog shit QTE I have ever seen in over 30 years of gaming. And obviously QTEs didn't really exist before like 2000, but still, since the history of QTEs, that was the worst shit I've ever fucking seen. It's not clear at all how you're supposed to block or dodge the attacks. It says press triangle for left attack, press circle for right attack. Okay, what does that mean? Does that mean on your left and your right, his left, his right? Even so, because, and I don't know if it's a timing issue, maybe it's a timing issue, but I'm sitting there, I'm pressing the right buttons as far as I know, and it's not doing shit. And especially when he does that spin attack, like what the fuck direction is a spin attack? Left or right? It's all directions. You can't choose a direction, so what are you supposed to press? So that whole fight was just fucking awful. That said, I mean, even all the times I died in that fight, I probably only cut out like 3 or 4 minutes of that fight being shit. There's probably more time in my video of that fight than there is that I actually cut out of it. I mean, regardless, it was terrible. It was funny dialogue-wise that he was like forcing Nathan to listen to his stupid villain monologue. Because if you try to rush him and punch him, he says, "Don't interrupt." He's like, "I told you, don't interrupt me." Also, he was a shit villain. I'll just segue into story. He was kind of a crappy villain, to be honest. And again, like I said, I don't remember the entire beginning of the game, first half of the game, but he had like almost no presence in the story whatsoever outside of a couple of chapters. So I I feel like if he had had more interaction in the story with the characters, it might have meant more at the end. But his death was like pretty much just as mediocre as his involvement in the story. It's like you drop a net full of like wooden boxes on him, and he's dead. He's done. He doesn't like survive as far as you can tell. He doesn't get hammered through the deck or anything. He's just done. That's it. That other than that, I like the story. I thought it was pretty good. I wish that the Sony Uncharted movie didn't take so much directly from this game and this game alone. But it is what it is, I guess. The epilogue I thought was pretty cool. I don't think they really explained where they built that house or those two buildings. That would be nice. Maybe, I mean, I'm assuming it's probably like off the coast of Mexico or something, based on that huge map of the Yucatan Peninsula that they seemed to be actively working on. Who knows? That could have been from the past. There's little stuff like, including Crash Bandicoot, kind of as a game,
Worse than it was
at two different points. Or like Uncharted 2, it has bonus features. So like you can unlock all of the weapons to spawn them from the start menu at any point in the game. Then you can also unlock alternate costumes or like infinite ammo. There's a lot of weird post-processing filters and like sound filters where you can mess with the graphics and stuff. I haven't played the multiplayer, and I honestly have no intention of playing the multiplayer. Or I might check out survival mode one day, but I really probably when it comes out on PC. We'll say it that way. I'll probably check those out on PC, at least the multiplayer, because I'm not messing with multiplayer on console. So I mean, overall, I think it's a pretty decent game. It's definitely overrated if you ever see PlayStation people acting like, these amazing games exist on PlayStation. The gameplay in this game really isn't that spectacular. Like, if you're here for the story, let's not pretend that we're here for the gameplay on an Uncharted game, even a Naughty Dog game in general. We're here for the story and the presentation overall. The only other thing I have to say about it is that I hope they continue the franchise somehow, like with their daughter being the main character or something, because it seems like a shame to throw away a franchise that people actually like when you already have so few franchises left that are exclusive to your system. And this isn't even exclusive. Like I said, if they ever set a release date, it'll be coming out on PC and Lost Legacy. So there you have it. There's my long-winded, longer than expected Uncharted 4 review. Keep checking back for more content. I promise I will try to improve and stop uploading like 8 videos a day. All right. Have a good one. Bye, everyone.